Ngeba Sojola here. In this video, we'll be basically discussing what's known as the carbon credit system. Now, the carbon credit system has a number of facets which are attached to it, which will be discussed in this video. But first things first, let us first define what a carbon credit is. Now, one carbon credit equals 1,000 kilograms or 1 ton of carbon dioxide that has been removed from the atmosphere, right? Or that has been prevented from going into the atmosphere. Now, to expand on the idea of the carbon credit, right? 1 hectare of trees which are specifically planted in the rainforest, be it in the Amazon or the Congo basin, right, produces an effect of removing 1,000 kilograms or 1 ton of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, right? Now, there are a number of different types of carbon credits. Number one, you have white carbon credits, blue carbon credits, and green carbon credits. Now, when we look at white carbon credits, right, I'll just address two types here. Now, the first one I would say is credits that you receive from using methane, right, or natural gas in your systems, right, which basically yields a 32-ton displacement of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, another one that can be used as fuel is ammonia, right? When used as fuel, it produces an effect of about 2.5 tons that are displaced from the atmosphere or prevented from going into the atmosphere, right? Those are white carbon credits. Now, when we look at green carbon credits, right? We'll just look at a few. When we look at the carbon credits which are produced from, let's say, planting vegetables, right, is about 2.5 tons, which are displaced in the atmosphere. This is 2.5 tons of carbon dioxide, right? And then when we look at a plant known as hemp, right, it has an effect of displacing or preventing about 5 tons of carbon dioxide from going into the atmosphere, right? And when we look at ammonia, right, when it is used as a fertilizer, right, produces an effect of about 5 tons of displaced carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, or 5 tons of carbon dioxide that has been prevented uh, from going into the atmosphere. Now, there are also something called blue carbon credits. Particularly, blue carbon credits are carbon credits that you get specifically from the ocean, right? Now, white carbon credits are specifically for air, right, pollution, right? And then green carbon credits are specifically for dealing with carbon credits that are on land. And then comes the third, which are known as blue carbon credits, right? Which are basically has to do with plants which are planted in the ocean, right, in the form of mangroves, right, salt marshes, right, and seagrass, right. Now they have a ranging, right, carbon credits which are attached to them, which ranges from about 30 tons to 40 times each. So depending on where and how it is planted, right? So you can produce an effect of displacing about 30 to 40 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, or the ability to absorb uh, about 30 to 40 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Now, when we speak of carbon offsets, right, we are fundamentally speaking of the process, right, by which companies that find it difficult to decarbonize, or that is taking them a bit longer to decarbonize, to be able to buy, right, carbon credits from companies that are working on climate friendly projects or climate friendly products, right, to buy these credits in such a way as to offset, right, their bad contribution to the environment, right? Now, let me give you an example, right? Let's say you have an oil company, right? Finding it very hard to decarbonize and to introduce renewable energy within their own projects, right? Now, because there is something called carbon offsets, it means this oil company, right, can buy carbon credits from companies that are busy with renewable projects or projects that are focused on climate action, right? And this has an effect of displacing or offsetting the impact that the oil company has on the greater environment in terms of climate, right? Now, offsets are basically also balanced with carbon tax. Carbon tax basically is saying that you will be taxed, meaning that you will have to pay more or lose money if you do not put any effort in trying to improve the environment. Let's say you produce shoes, right? But your shoe factory is fundamentally attached to a local coal power plant, right? And you are using, let's say, a material, let's say cotton, right? That is quite a dirty material to produce. You use um, toxic materials, right? You use energy or electricity which come from a high dense coal concentration, right? In that case, you will be taxed, right? Meaning that you will have to lose some revenue or pay some more for your products to be used in the market, right? So, yeah, that is carbon tax and carbon offsets. Now, there's something called the carbon standards, right? Which are basically standards which are produced by regulatory bodies, right? And NGOs, right? And non-governmental and some governmental organizations that basically help to standardize the production or the issuing of carbon credits, right? Now, these various companies, right? For example, about two companies that I know that do these carbon standards are Vera, right? And a company known as the Gold Standard. So these company basically trace the carbon credit of where it comes from and how it was produced. So basically, they have an end-to-end system to basically monitor how the carbon credit was produced. Meaning, let's say you have a solar plant which is connected to a shoe factory, right? So these these carbon standard companies, these carbon regulators, basically will go around tracing the origin of the carbon credit. They will come to your company or your country to check if your factory, what let's say, what type of material are you using? Toxic materials there? Are you using materials that pollute, right? And what would be your source of electricity? Is it a renewable? Is it coal? Is it oil? Right? And then issue out a carbon credit according to those standards, right? So these are the people which make sure that companies are not greenwashing their own statements or own carbon credits, right? Because a lot of environmentalists have been complaining that specifically with the offsetting, right? And claiming to produce climate friendly carbon credits, right? A lot of environmentalists are complaining that this thing is being abused and people are lying and basically taking advantage of the system, right? So that the carbon standard regulatory bodies, right, were introduced, right, to basically make sure that everything is traceable in an end-to-end fashion, right, so that people can be issued certification of the authentic carbon credits. Now, finally, I would say that the carbon credit system is still quite at its infancy, right? But when it comes to the Great Reset, the carbon credit system is right at the center of it, right? And at the center of climate issues, right? And basically making sure that when it comes to ESG, right, issues of environment, the social and governance are basically adhered to. I don't think there's anything that comes to mind right now, but if it does, I will release a video. But for now, thank you for the opportunity. I'll see you in the next video.